Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable 27th Administrator of the United States Small Business Administration, Isabella Guzman.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this wonderful meal at our wonderful Res. It's great to be back here at Res as well. And, I just want to thank Chris James for the invitation, but as well for his partnership and for serving on the SBA's Council on Underserved Communities, which I reestablished. We appreciate his leadership at the National Center and with us at the SBA because he's so dedicated to entrepreneurship and economic development across our American Indian, Alaska Native, as well as Native Hawaiian communities. So thank you. But also thank you to the National Center's chairman. I know that I saw you earlier, Derek Watchman, as well as all of the officers and directors of the board. This is my third year in a row presenting at Res. Thank you. And it really reflects the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to Native enterprise. I prioritize this gathering because I know entrepreneurship is a critical pathway to prosperity for Native people and a vital economic development tool for tribal nations. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, is here to deliver those opportunities. We are on the traditional homelands of the Nuwuvi and Southern Paiute people, and we are near the Las Vegas, Paiute, and Moapa Band of Paiute reservations. So let's reflect on the fact that pre-colonization, these Native people, along with all of our Native communities across the Americas, were the original entrepreneurs on this land. They innovated, they created commerce, traded goods, and delivered prosperity to their communities. Native communities are entrepreneurial with resilience and a will to solve problems and make our lands, communities, and the world we live in better. Native entrepreneurs are one of our nation's greatest treasures of talent and ideas. And we need to do more to ensure that they can thrive. So from day one, the Biden-Harris administration has been committed to an economic agenda that is rebuilding our economy from the bottom up and the middle out for all, because we cannot afford to see any of this incredible talent sit on the sidelines. We need an economy and federal programs that work for all of our communities so that our entrepreneurs can pursue their own American dreams of business ownership. President Biden immediately took action to address gaps in relief and worked with Congress to rescue the American economy, small businesses, and families from the once-in-a-generation pandemic. The rescue and response packages helped the SBA deliver final rounds of COVID relief to underserved communities with a record $3 billion in funding in 2021 alone to Native entrepreneurs through PPP, COVID EIDL, restaurant relief, and other SBA core-backed loans. That has helped Native businesses like Bow and Arrow Brewing in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Koala Java in Cherokee, North Carolina, to weather the economic shutdown. And the Biden Rescue Plan also created the Community Navigator pilot program to ensure that those communities that were left behind could build strengthened ecosystems for future resilience. This has been a great success for Indian country. The SBA increased grants to tribal-focused organizations by 5 times. We've grown from 7 to over 42 grantees working to build a Native entrepreneurial ecosystem. This is the largest funded Native network in the agency's history. And our navigators and our SBA Office of Native American Affairs are supporting our entrepreneurs, meeting them where they are and everywhere that they are. And we are committed to doing the same across our small business development centers and other resource partners. I've met businesses like Nez Perce Tourism, I believe she's here today, who sought out SBDC support and is seeing success in her business as a result. I want to make sure that all entrepreneurs, including more rural Native entrepreneurs and on tribal lands, can more easily access the SBA partner resources. And today, many are unfortunately hours from a local SBA center. That is why today I am committing, at the National Center's suggestion, to engage in tribal consultations to understand how all our funded networks can provide that necessary focus and support to tribal communities. The American Rescue Plan yielded results, and we are seeing the same impact from legislation led by President Biden to make our economy even stronger than before. Finally, investing in our nation's infrastructure, building a clean energy economy, unleashing a manufacturing and innovation boom. 2 years in office, President Biden's Investing in America agenda is working. The economy has created more than 12 million jobs, including across Indian country. And these employment numbers were powered by our nation's job creators, our small businesses, which have experienced a boom during the Biden-Harris administration. We've had over 10.5 million new business applications filed in this country. And the president's economic agenda includes historic levels of funding, specifically for tribal communities and Native people, including $32 billion from the American Rescue Plan, $13 billion in the bipartisan infrastructure law, and $700 million in the Inflation Reduction Act. There is a strong environment for growth, and the private sector has invested more than $300 billion in new manufacturing in America. And what this means for small businesses is that supply chains are expanding to deliver for reemerging industries, creating opportunities for small businesses across the country like yours. There are over 23,000 infrastructure projects and awards totaling over $200 billion across the nation that so far have been announced. And that means contracts for tribal-owned and Native-owned small businesses. The bottom line is President Biden's Investing in America agenda is strengthening communities that for too long were left out or left behind. And the SBA is advancing the president's commitment to equity by modernizing and growing its programs. I've talked about addressing inequities in our networks, and President Biden and Vice President Harris recognize the barriers people of color and women face in accessing capital. And I know you're all familiar with that, but the SBA is committed to fixing the challenges that you face in funding your businesses. And that's why we are leading the Interagency Access to Capital Initiative launched at the 2022 White House Tribal Nations Summit. Agencies involved have agreed to share and develop innovative government actions and increase outreach to ensure higher funding levels to Native communities across our federal programs. The SBA wants its capital programs to serve Native entrepreneurs, both off and on reservations, without barriers. Thanks to our community navigators, we are already finding ways to expand lending in tribal communities. Two of our top-tier navigators are Owista Corporation of Colorado, supporting a network of 26 organizations, and Arctic Slope Community Foundation of Alaska with 9 spoke organizations. Navigators like the Citizen Potawatomi Community Development Corporation in Oklahoma, who are helping Native entrepreneurs like Kelly Price build their economic dreams. Citizen Potawatomi has helped Kelly and Redbone Indian Tacos launch, as well as secure funds for new equipment to expand her business beyond tacos to now pizzas. First American Capital Corporation from Wisconsin helped Native-owned Luchador Trucking get capital ready, so that owner could get funded through SBA's microlending program and get his work truck back on the road, which he's now doing and participating in prime contracts across the country. We must deliver equity in our capital programs to help our Native-owned businesses seize opportunities presented by President's Invest in America economic agenda and the historic levels of federal contracting that we are awarding to small businesses and tribal and Native 8A firms. The U.S. government is the world's largest consumer, and we want to do business with Indian country. In fact, we need our tribal firms to deliver the products and services that our agencies need. And according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, their Center for Indian Country Development, over the last 4 decades, there have been over $208 billion in contracts to entity-owned firms. This is an incredible economic development opportunity for our tribal nations. The National Center can help this growth. President Biden increased the spending goal from 10% to 15% to small disadvantaged businesses by 2025, and we are well on our way. This means that there are incredible contracting opportunities for nations just like the Winnebago tribe, who has done a remarkable job building their economic strategy based on getting contracts from the federal government around the world. The SBA has been engaging in tribal consultations, listening sessions, and working groups to help us address the issues that create barriers to federal contracting. And I'm proud to say that our 8A final rule, which is coming out in the next few weeks, reflects SBA's effective engagement with the tribal community. So thank you for providing such valuable feedback, and thank you to the SBA team for advancing this work. This will help us ensure that more Native and tribal entities can participate in contracting, especially on the heels of the historic announcement in which the Biden-Harris administration committed to strengthening implementation of the Buy Indian Act, which will aid Native-owned businesses by providing them with special federal contracting preferences at both Interior and Health and Human Services. This is the administration making good on a 100-year-old promise that was never implemented. Secretary Haaland has made announcements to expand Interior's goal to 75% of contract dollars from Indian Affairs and 10% across the rest of the department. Additionally, SBA is working with the Department of Energy, GSA, and the Department of Defense as we work to establish the Indian Energy Purchase Preference. We know that when we invest in America's Native entrepreneurs, we invest in America. The great American recovery simply will not work if we fail to lift all people and all nations in our community. Your businesses, your ideas, your pursuit of the American dream of business ownership are fueling our efforts to come back stronger than before the pandemic. And the SBA is here to serve you, to provide the tools and knowledge to invest in your communities by creating opportunities for generational wealth building. As entrepreneurs, you know that this is easier said than done, as the challenges we face are significant. However, the Biden-Harris administration's efforts provide Indian country with the opportunities and the resources to succeed. Together, we will build a more equitable and prosperous future for us all. So thank you for the work, your entrepreneurship, and your continued belief in pursuing the American dream of business ownership. Thank you.